In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a full video automation system on Make.com that can pull in AI text, AI music, images, and videos, and then automatically stitch them together to generate well-designed shorts and reels for TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Here's a quick look at some of the shorts and reels that I've created using this system. Now, these are simple templates with some basic text and scene transitions, but the Creatomate visual editor is so powerful that you could create incredibly sophisticated visuals using this system. I use Suno to generate music, Flux One to generate amazing images, Kling AI to convert those images into video clips, and then use a platform called Creatomate to render the final output. The quality of AI images and videos can be pretty hit and miss, so I've built in a review step on Airtable so you can regenerate the assets if you want. You can also upload real audio or images or videos if you don't want to use AI for certain parts of your video. In this video, I'll be auto-generating a 15-second TikTok video showcasing the top cities for the best nightlife, which could be pushed out by a travel agency, for example, promoting their latest offers to these cities. So to build out this video automation system, we'll be using Make.com, which is a pretty powerful automation platform. All of the data will then be stored in Airtable, as I mentioned, which is incredibly easy to set up and is a very flexible way of storing data for automations. So we have two tables. The first one is videos, and the second one is chapters or scenes. And if you look at video here, the idea is you simply just add in a video title, and then you set the status to, let's say, generate chapters, and then the automation will go off using OpenAI's GPT-4 to generate out the chapters for that video. And then you work through the workflow of then generating music, generating images, generating video clips, and then rendering the full video. And then the full video shows up here where you can review it. And then if you jump into chapters or scenes, within this 15-second short for TikTok, we're going to have 5 scenes. And this is all detailed here in the chapters. And you can edit the text of this. You can regenerate everything as you work through the process to generate out the final rendered video. So we have text, we have image prompts, we have images, and we also have the video clips as well. But with everything managed in Airtable, what's happening behind the scenes is an extensive make automation. And here's a quick bird's eye view of it. If you want access to this Make.com blueprint so you can quickly import it at the click of a button, just by pressing that, then check out the link in the description to our community, where you'll get access to this template plus many others. We also host weekly workshops where we can support members in getting their automations up and running. And we have a very active community where you can create posts on the forums and get help from other community members as well as myself and Alan. But check it out below. We'd love to see you there. Each of these branches that you see represent the various statuses that you saw at the video level. So for example, generate chapters is our first branch here, which you can see generate chapters. And that works through this flow, which hits OpenAI's GPT-4 to generate out the content for the scenes. And it then goes and it saves those chapters or those scenes to Airtable and updates the status at the video level. The next status then is generate music. And for that, it goes through the second branch, which goes to Suno to generate out the background track to save it to Airtable. Suno is one of the best music generation platforms out there, and it's ideal for these kind of ambient background tracks for social reels. Now, the only issue with Suno is that it does not have an official API. So in this video, we're going to be using an unofficial API, which is Go API. I'll provide links for all of these in the description below. This platform provides us unofficial API access to Suno, as well as the video generation platform Kling. So then back in here to our automation, this track generates the music, and then we have another track which then fetches that music because it can take up to 2 minutes to generate the track. Our next branch is to generate images. So we fetch each chapter or each scene for the video, and then we go to Flux One using replicate.com, and we drop in our image prompt that we generated in the previous step, and we generate out an image that we can then save to the Airtable, which you can see here. And then similar to Suno, we have a generate track and a fetch track so that we can separate out those two tasks. So next up, after we've generated the images on Flux One, we then need to generate videos from those images. So this branch generates videos from those images by fetching the chapters, getting the images, and then we send them to Kling AI. And what Kling AI allow you to do is to upload an image, and it'll generate a 5 to 10 second clip off the back of that image that we can then save to Airtable. Kling AI don't have an official API that we can use, so again, we'll be using Go API for that. So that finishes the generate video branch, and then we have a fetch video branch, which goes through a flow here to pull down the generated clips from Kling AI and then save them again to Airtable. So at this point, we now have chapters that are full of text, that have images based off prompts, that then also have video clips. And we now have everything we need to go and generate the final video, which is this last track here, render full video. And from this, we load up everything from Airtable, and then we hit our Create-O-Mate template to generate out the video. So Create-O-Mate is a video generation API, and it provides a facility to design some pretty amazing templates that you can add placeholders to. And then when you auto-generate your videos, you're injecting your new content into those placeholders. So that's why this works really well for this kind of programmatic automated video generation. If I jump in here very quickly, this is the template that I've designed that we're going to be injecting our content from Airtable into. But you can design a template however way you want. This is 9x16 for social. It could be 16x9 for YouTube. It could be whatever size you want. And you have full access to drop in text, images, video clips. There's amazing transitions and animations. This is just mega powerful. I'm so impressed by it. So once the final video is rendered, again, we update Airtable, which jumps out here, and then you have your fully rendered video saved to Airtable that you can then share to social media, either automatically or manually upload it to social. There are plenty of real-world use cases for distributing automated video content on social media. It could be restaurants pushing out positive reviews or frequent menu updates, an e-commerce store pushing out new product lines or announcing sales, real-time updates from events like a team scoring a goal, even hotels generating personalized videos for guests. To start building this video automation system, we're going to need two things. Firstly, on make.com, we're going to need to create a new scenario, which is what you can see here. And then secondly, we need a new base on Airtable. So all of our data is going to be stored in Airtable, and we'll be using that as the central management system to generate out our videos. So if you go to Airtable, log in, and then click Start from Scratch, and then this will generate a new base. That is a dreadful color. Let's change that to something a bit nicer. Perfect, blue. Okay, so then on the tabs, we want to create two tables. So we're going to build out a very kind of bare bones data structure for the moment. The first table is going to be videos, and the second table is going to be chapters. So start a second table from scratch, and you can name that chapters. So the idea here is we're going to add in a video title, and then we're going to trigger the automation to generate out the text for each of the scenes or each of the chapters within that video. Now, the video might only be 15, 20 seconds, but there might be 5 or 6 different scenes within that, 3 or 4 seconds long. That's what we have here. Okay, so back into videos, let's rename this base now to our video automation system. And the same here, let's call it the AI video automation system. Okay, so then for videos, let's delete out these for the moment. And then for name, what we're looking for here is the video title. That can be a single line of text. And again, same for chapters, jump into chapters, delete out the fields and the type of data we need to store against each chapter. We're going to need some primary text that we're going to bring into our video template. That could be a single line of text. We're also going to need some secondary text. Again, single line. Sometimes it's better just to choose long text because that way you can double click and it'll expand out if there's more than a sentence. So let's come back into videos and let's drop in a video title that we can work off. So let's say we want to create a 15 to 20 second reel for TikTok or Instagram on the top cities for the best nightlife. So next up, let's create a status field because this is what we're going to use to control the various automations. And the status needs to be a single select. So you pick that. And then under add options, let's just add a couple for the moment and we'll build this out as we go. So at a very basic level, it's to do and complete. But the first thing we want to do is generate chapters. So let's say generate chapters and we'll drag this up here so you can create that field. So then, yeah, the idea would be you'll add a video title, which will default to do. And then when you want to trigger the automation, you would press on generate chapters. So then what that does then is make.com will go off, generate the chapters using OpenAI or Perplexity or Claude, and then it'll come back in here and it'll populate out these fields, so primary text and secondary text. Now, next thing is we need an image for these chapters. So let's add a new field, which will be image prompt. And again, that could be long text. So there's that. And we need background music. So back into the video, because the background music is at a video level, not at a scene level. And we will create an audio prompt, which will go to Suno. Single line of text is fine for that, I think. Great. So we'll trigger the generate chapters, which will auto-populate the audio prompt, primary text, secondary text, and the image prompt. Okay, so I think we have the bare bones structure that we need. So let's now jump into Make. And within our AI video automation system scenario, the first node we're going to need is an Airtable node. So we need to fetch this record. Let's delete out these empty records for the moment. And the same here, let's get rid of those. Okay, so When you're up and running, you probably will be using something like watch records. But for the moment, we're just going to use search records, and we're just going to search for the single record in the system. We'll build it off the back of that, and then we can make the change to watch records at the very end. Okay, so for base, we'll select AI Video Automation System. So we're looking for this database within Airtable. And then the table we're looking for is videos, because we're looking for that single video. We'll leave view empty for the moment. We won't select any output fields, so it'll retrieve them all. We're not even going to put in a formula for the moment. So we'll just limit this to 1. We just want to get that single record. So let's save that. We'll run it. And there you go. You can see video title, top cities for the best nightlife. And the status is in generate chapters. Great. So next up, we need to go to OpenAI to generate chapters for this video. So click on the plus, OpenAI. We're going to create a completion. We're going to use GPT-4 which is their latest, biggest model, which is there. We'll just set max tokens to 0, which means that it's going to use the limit of the model. And before setting messages, let's just go into show advanced settings and scroll down. And then under response format, we're looking for a JSON object. So we're looking for a highly structured response. And where it says parse JSON response, you can say yes to that. So that means make.com can use the data in its scenarios. Great. So then back up to the top, under messages, click add message. And we're going to set a system role here. I'll copy it in, and here's the system. So it says you are an experienced social media manager. You need to script 6 5-second scenes that will be stitched together into a reel for TikTok and Instagram based on the topic provided. So we need to come into add message here, and then we need to provide the topic. So we'll select user role, and then under message content, if you click that, drag this over here so you can see it. We want to get the video title from Airtable from this node here. And you can see it there, video title, and that's it. That's all we need to add. Let's just go through the rest of this prompt. So do not include too much text, as there is only 5 seconds to read it before the scene transitions to the next. It needs to be short and snappy. The secondary text should be around 10 words long. Again, you can fit that on screen and read it within 4 to 5 seconds. The first scene should be an intro reflecting the main topic. Also provide 5 keywords for the style of music that would suit this reel. And that's what we're going to kind of inject into this audio prompt and make sure it's engaging. And then only output a JSON array in the following format. So I'm looking for this format, which I can then use further in the automation. So I want to see the music style, which is just going to be kind of keywords. I want to see an array of scenes, which will include primary text, secondary text. And then finally, I'm looking for an AI image generator prompt. That's actually not part of the scene. So let's just move that up there and then a comma. Excellent. Yeah, so music style, AI image generator prompt, and then the scenes, and that's it. So, okay, we'll press OK to that. Let's run it once and see how it works. So save, keep saving it, and then click run once. Now you can see that it's loaded the record from Airtable. So we have our top cities for the best nightlife, and it's now fetched the result from OpenAI. So let's have a look. So then there's the result node, and then now you can see music style. Let me just zoom in here so you can see it. Music style, upbeat, energetic dance party fun. Our AI image generator prompt is a vibrant city nightlife, colorful lights, people dancing. And then you have an array of scenes. We have 6 scenes. And there you go. Top cities for the best nightlife. Get ready to party. New York City, Berlin, the techno capital, Tokyo, neon lights, Las Vegas, and Barcelona. So brilliant. Now, of course, this could be anything. You know, if you put in a different video title here, you'll get something completely different back. If you want a different style of video, you know, maybe you're not trying to create a short, maybe you're trying to create a YouTube video, then, you know, you could change it so that it's now, you know, 15-second scenes, and then the amount of text will change accordingly. Or you could look for maybe 3 or 4 different types of text in the chapters. So it's totally up to you how you structure it. It works pretty well for the likes of shorts. Okay, so we have what we need. We now need to save that in our chapters table on Airtable. And actually, just looking at chapters, what we're missing here is a link to our video. So let's just click on plus, link to another record video. Now we definitely don't want it linking to multiple videos. So a number of chapters will link to a single video. That's what we want. We don't need to add any lookup fields yet, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, so back in here, so add another module. What we have here, to get back into this collection, we have an array of scenes, and we need to save 6 chapters to our Airtable base. So to do that, you're going to need to use an iterator, because if you come in here and just click Airtable, you know, create a record, it's just going to create a single record because we've only gotten a single bundle back. We need to run this multiple times. So pull that out there and then add a module, and you can see these icons up here on the right hand side. So there's an iterator and an array aggregator. And if you look at the icon itself, for iterator, it's a single arrow kind of reflecting one bundle, and it breaks into multiple lines or multiple bundles. And that's what we want to do here. So we want to split this and run it multiple times. So yeah, we'll click on iterator, and then the array that we want to run against is scenes. You can see it right there. And you can see these little square brackets, which means that it's an array. So that's what we're looking for. And yeah, primary text and secondary text for each item in that array. Okay, so we now have the iterator, and then for each of those items in that array, we can now create a record. So come in here, we'll select a base. Now, in terms of the table, we need to choose chapters because we're looking to create chapters. Great, so we have primary text, secondary text, and image prompt. So if you click primary text, and then we want to select the text from the iterator. So you can select primary text there. You can select secondary text there. Yeah, I'm actually missing the image prompt. I think I made a mistake. Let's come back in here. Yeah, this image prompt is actually at the scene level. I accidentally moved it up when I shouldn't have. So leave best alone, put it back down there. And now, yeah, the image prompt is per scene. So my bad. So now that I've changed that, if I come back into Airtable and try to select that image prompt, it's not showing here at the iterator because I need to run the scenario for make to realize that there's another element to this array. But I also don't want to create records either. So a nice trick is if you click on set a filter, and then we want make to stop processing here, but we want to load the various values into its memory. So the best way to do that, to stop processing, is just to select a condition, which is, when 1 equals 0, which it never will, then continue on. So if I save that, let me just get out of that and save. Now, if I run that and save it, it's going to hit the iterator. It'll load up the new value from the OpenAI array, but it'll never pass this point. And now, as you can see, when I select it, there's the image generator prompt per bundle or per scene. So that's perfect. So now we can come in to create a record. And now if we click image prompt, you can see your image prompt. So bingo. And then we can also get rid of this filter because now we do want to create records. So back in here, create a record. So we're selecting the primary text, the secondary text, and the image prompt. Now we also want to link it to the video. So if we click add item, we want to link it to the top cities for the best nightlife video because otherwise we're not going to know which video these chapters are related to. So if you click here, the Airtable, this is done based off the primary key, which is the video title in this instance. So whatever's in the first column here, that's what you're matching against. So record ID 1, and you just need to come down to this Airtable record, and you're looking for the video title, which is that one. Brilliant. So that's okay. We'll save that, and now let's run it. Searching for the records, generating the array, and we have an error. My bad. It's not the video title. It's actually the record ID. It says it there. Silly. Okay, we have the ID instead. So it's created the 6 chapters, and now if I jump in here, we have 6 chapters all linked to our video. Fantastic. And then if we come back in here, now we need to update this status because if I run this again, it's just going to create 6 more chapters, which I don't want. So now we need to edit this field, and then we'll add an option, which is chapters generated. And we can move that up. We'll copy that out and save it. And then we'll come back in here to update the status now on my video. If I click add another module, Airtable, and then update a record, we're going to have the same problem that we had in reverse here, which is that this stream is now running for each item in this array. So if I update the main table here, the main video, it's going to update it 6 times, as you can see with this bubble. So we actually need to kind of exit this loop or this processing of individual records of this array and get back into a kind of a single processing phase or a single execution phase. So what we'll do is we'll just click OK to that. I'll just select my base. Table is videos. Come back in here and we'll select and set the status to chapters generated and just leave it at that for the moment. Oh yeah, record ID. We need to pick the record from the first module. So that's down here. That's the record ID. Click OK. So as I mentioned now, if I was to run that, this ran 6 times, that would also run 6 times. So instead, what we need to do is add a module, and then back to these icons that you saw. This one breaks an array into multiple execution runs, and this one closes up the multiple executions back into a single execution. So that's the array aggregator. There is a bit of complexity to the iterators and aggregators, but once you get the hang of it, they're so powerful. So back onto this then, the array aggregator. The source module that we want to aggregate, you can select as this module here, the Airtable record. We're not really using this, so you can just select the ID and that should be enough. And then the minute you do that, you can see it's now shaded out So everything within this gray shading runs multiple times for each row of the array. But now that it's not shaded anymore, this will only run once. So then back into here. So the base is the AI video automation system. Table is videos. We've set the record ID, so we're pulling the ID of the first row. We're setting the status now as chapters generated, so it's not going to run it again the next time I run the scenario. Oh yeah, the audio prompt, let's fill that out. So we can come back into here, the OpenAI music style, that's what we're looking for. Brilliant. And we don't need to add any more chapters because we've already done that. Okay, so let's save that. Let's delete out all these chapters, save it, and as you can see, that's running multiple times now. Oh no, what's going on? It did update it multiple times. Why did it do that? I've set the array aggregator wrong. I'm supposed to be aggregating off the iterator, not off the Airtable record. So let's go back into here. The source module needs to be the iterator. So apologies. Just said one of the fields in the iterator. Yeah, so that's actually what we need to loop, not this. So that ran 6 times, which you can see here, which is obviously wrong. So, okay, I've made that change. We'll come back in here, delete it out. As you can see, like there's so much trial and error with this stuff. But once you kind of get the handle of the system, you can do so much with it. So let's run that again. Yeah, so that's ran once. Now that's ran 6 times, and we're back to once. And now that's only updated once. So brilliant. And then come back in here. So chapters are now generated. There's our audio prompt, which is upbeat, energetic, party, modern, and dance music. And then there are all of the various chapters. We now have Rio and Bangkok and Ibiza with some really cool image prompts. Great. Now, so next thing we need to do is let's add a router. Because if I click run this again, it's going to generate more chapters, which is obviously not what I want. So if we just come in here and add a router, and then for this, we can now set a filter. So if you click on the first one, so the condition here is if the status is, and then just copy out, if the status is generate chapters, click OK, and then just name this as well so you can see it here. Brilliant. So if the status is generate chapters, go down that road. So let's click save and run it. And as you can see, it's now ran it, but then you can see if you inspect the filter, you have this big X. So, you know, the status doesn't equal generate chapters, it equals chapters generated. So we now have our chapters. Brilliant. So next step, let's generate some background music using this audio prompt. We're going to use Suno, which is one of the main music generators out there. The problem is they have no official API. We're going to use Go API, which is an unofficial way to access the Suno system. So I'll leave links for Suno and for Go API in the description below. You can try Go API for free. They give you a small number of credits, but outside of that, it's pretty cheap to actually generate out these background tracks. And it's a pay-per-use plan that I'm on here with Go API. Go API have full documentation as well if you need any help getting the integrations up and running. But you can see for Suno API, it documents, you know, what APIs to call to generate the music and what APIs to call to retrieve the output. Okay, so back into here then, and we'll create another branch from this router. So pull that out there. And for this one now, we're going to hit the Go API Suno endpoint, which is this one. So we're going to hit this endpoint. We're going to pass the music or the audio prompt that we just generated, and we're going to get some really cool background music for our video. So we'll click on plus. What we want to do is create a HTTP auth request, and then just go to HTTP, and we're going to hit the make a request module. And then what we're doing is we're going to paste in this URL. We'll drop that into there. And as you can see, this is a post. So there's post. We then need to add headers. So you can see there's an XAPI key that's needed. And the XAPI key is what is in your dashboard. So if you go to My API Keys, you can create additional keys. So you just need to copy and paste that API key into the header of the request. So I've pasted that in there. I'll be deleting the key out anyway after this video, so it won't work if you do try it. And then in terms of the body type, you can just drop in raw, and you can see what is needed here. So there's custom mode, there's MV and an input, and then they also provide a sample of that input, which is here. So I'm going to take that in, I'll drop it in here. So the content type is JSON, request content. So custom mode is false, MV, so this is the model version. And then the input, and yeah, you can see GPT description prompt. So this is the audio prompt that we're sending it, and you can see that's coming from this module here from Airtable. There's our audio prompt. So you just select that. Make instrumental is true. I do want a kind of a background style tune. So that's it. Anything under show advanced settings? Nope, I think that's all okay. We now have this branch, so we need to add a filter. So let's have this as generate music. So if we go back into videos, into our status, and now this one, we've done generate chapters. This one is generate music. And let's do music generated, and we'll move these up. So complete is the last one. Okay, that's there. And then let's move this along to generate music. And then for the filter, so that it goes down this road, we'll say generate music. And if the condition, if the status is that, go down this track. So we'll save that, run it. And now you can see it has followed this path and we're getting a status code 200, which means it's been successful. And we get a task ID. So now we need to hit this endpoint, get music generation request API. So we need to hit this endpoint with the task ID to fetch the music. So we'll come along here, add another module. Again, we're going to go into HTTP, make a request, and then that is the endpoint. This is a get as opposed to a post. So we're just passing the task ID in the URL. So if you delete that, and we need to dynamically inject the task ID that we get in this data. Now, it's kind of buried in all of this this code, this JSON structure. You know, there's data, there's task ID, there's code 200. So actually, let's park that for a second. Come over here and add another module. We need to parse that JSON. So just type in JSON, parse JSON, and then you can see here the data that we're getting back from the request, we need to process it before we can use it. So if we click OK to that, and again, let's just do this trick of when 1 equals 0. So it's not going to go down that track. We'll save that. We are still at generate music, so let's run it. Now, so what do we get back? Bundle 1, code 200, there's our data, and there's our task ID. Brilliant. So we can now drop that in to the request. So come in here into the URL, and there's the task ID. Brilliant. So yeah, it's a GET request, but we do need to authorize it. It's the same as the POST request. We need to authorize it. So what we'll do is come back here, x-api-key is what we need. So headers, there's the value. Oh God, I'll just copy it. Brilliant. And then there's no body to pass. All we're doing is looking for that task ID. So brilliant, and we'll get rid of this filter now because we do want to fetch the result. So we'll save that and run it. Okay, so we have successfully sent it to the Go API to generate the music. We've got the task ID and we've tried to fetch the result. And now this also needs to be parsed. You're seeing lots of text here. So let's just parse that as well. So JSON, parse, and parse what we get from there so that we can look at it. You can ignore that warning. So we'll run that. Okay, so let's see what we're getting back. So it's a code 200. Yeah, so the status is pending. So the problem here is we're going to need to wait for Suno to generate the output. Now, it can take, from experience, it can take 2 to 3 minutes to generate the output. So what we need to do is we need to put in a wait facility. So the problem with the wait facility is this scenario is just going to hang for ages waiting for 2 to 3 minutes. So maybe what we'll do is instead of waiting, let's split this up a little bit and let's add another branch here, which is to fetch the music. So we'll call this fetch music. And maybe then, yeah, when the status is fetch music, we'll come down here. Because what we're doing with this request is we're posting the request to Go API to go generate the music. And then it'll take as long as it takes. But we don't need to hang around. We can keep doing what we're doing. And then we can poll, you know, every minute, however often this scenario runs, to see, you know, when the update is. So then let's split this up. We'll unlink that, move this down here. And then maybe at the end of this, we'll add another module and we'll update this row so that that says the music is generating. So if we edit field here, and let's add a new field. So generate music, music generating, and then music generated. Okay, so fetch music. So when the status is music generating, we want to come down this track. And then here we need to update the row to set it to music generating. So Airtable, that's the base. Table is video. The record ID is what's set in again in the first module, which is that one. And then yeah, status, music generating. And actually what we need is the task. We need to save the task ID that we get from Go API. So if we click OK to that for the moment, back into videos, and let's save the task ID. So audio task ID, and that can be a single line of text. Okay, and then if we come in here, it'll load up that, or it should load up that. Yeah, audio task ID, and that's what we're saving there. So brilliant. So we're saying music generating, that's the task ID to then try to fetch it in the future. And then that kind of closes out that branch. And then if we come in here, so this is fetch music, and if the status is music generating, then we're going to try to fetch it, or we'll check to see has it generated successfully yet. Now, so we need to update this so that we're getting the task ID from the module 1. Now that hasn't loaded there, so again we just need to load this into memory. So just set a filter here when 1 equals 0. We'll save and run it. Do we have our audio task ID? We don't. Oh yeah, we don't. We haven't actually saved it yet. So let's run this again. So generate music, leave it at that. Let's get rid of that filter. And then we're just going to run it again, which brings it down this track. It's posted the request to Go API. Brilliant. We now have our task ID. So, and it's set it to music generating. So now if we run it again, it's going to go down this track and it's encountered an error. So that's fine. So now we can use the audio task ID here in the get. So that's there. We're passing the authentication. So let's save that now and run it. Brilliant. Yeah, we have it. So we've triggered the request and let's see, is it finished? No, status is processing. So this is what might take 1 to 2 minutes or 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, just ran it again, still processing. So this scenario would need to run on a schedule just to check it every minute or two. And whenever you're generating videos, you don't need to leave it running every minute or two forevermore. But yeah, when you're generating videos, you just set it to run, on a schedule at a regular basis. But I'll leave it off for the moment. We're still building this. Okay, great. So that has now completed. And then under clips, yeah, you can see, Suno always generates 2 clips. So there is the audio URL. Let's just play it here. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's perfect for a background track for a TikTok short about, nightlife in the top cities to go partying in. Great. So next up, we now need to get this audio file into Airtable so that we can then inject it into the video. So we have a URL, and we have 2 URLs, in fact, because there's 2 clips. Okay, so we need an audio field. So let's come in here, get rid of that. We'll add a new field, which is an attachment, and we will call this audio, or let's say background audio. So we'll create that, and let's just refresh this table so that then will show background audio. So then we can add the items. So we need to add a file URL and a file name. So if you click that and then go into clips. Now we have a problem here, which is that these look like IDs, and those IDs will most likely change. So the next time this generates, it'll be a different name. So the problem is if I click that, you'll see it's pretty much hard coding the ID, which will never be the same. So we need to add another step here just to convert this into something more kind of usable. So just click OK to that for the moment. We'll come back to you. Record ID, the one from the first module. Yeah. So we'll extend that out. Let's add another module. So for this one, then we'll just set a variable just because we want to convert some data. So set a variable, let's just call this clips. And then we're just going to use one of these functions where we transform something into an array. Where is that? Under functions for working with arrays. So if we just click to array and then get out of that, we'll just drop in these clips and you'll see what happens now when we run this. So we'll press OK to that. Again, we'll just set a filter here to stop processing through this. And let's run it again. Now, so it's fetched the result, which we can see is completed, but we have all of this data we can't really reliably use. And now that has transformed it into something we can use. So it's pretty much just kind of transformed the element name into key, and then the value is now what was within that. So that's perfect. That is now much more reliable to use within the automation. So we come in here, we'll get rid of this filter. We don't need it anymore. And then update a record. Then back in here, file URL, and we'll just pick the first one. Suno will generate 2, but let's just pick the first one. So clips, value, and there's audio URL. And then in terms of a file name, usually what I do is just set the ID. So that MP3, I assume it's an MP3. Great. So that's that. And then also we need to update now the status back to a generation complete or music generated. So it's a good way of cycling through statuses and then using statuses to kind of act as kind of traffic control for the various automations in a scenario. So music generated, press OK to that. And I think that's all we need. So let's run it again. All completed and brilliant. Music generated. There's our background audio. Yeah, and that's working there. So that audio has now saved to Airtable, and we can now use that as a background tune for the video. Great, so we're coming along nicely here. Let's just auto-align this, tidy it up. So what have we done so far? We generated the chapters using OpenAI GPT-4 and then saved those chapters to Airtable. We've generated the music, or at least we've triggered the generation of the music using Go API to the Suno system. And then we've set up a scenario to fetch the music that we can kind of run on a regular basis, as it could take 2 to 3 minutes to generate out the tracks. Okay, so next up is generate imagery, I think. So let's use Flux One for that. It's definitely one of the best models out there at the moment. So yeah, so let's add another branch to this. Whoa. Let's get you back there. So this is our next branch. So to generate images, the images are at a chapter level or a scene level. And obviously we need an image field. So this would be image, an attachment. So we're going to go to Flux One, send in this image prompt. And then when we get the result back, we'll save it to the image field. So then here, this will be generate images. So when the status is of the video is generate images, click OK. So come back into the video and we'll create that status. So you'll see I'm constantly building out the statuses here. So there's generate images and then images generated. Okay, so that's that. And then here, so I suppose first things first, we need to get the image prompts per chapter. So let's come into Airtable. We're going to search for records. So where videos is the top cities for the best nightlife. Videos equals top cities for the best nightlife, and then limit to 10. There's 6 of them there at the moment anyway. So generate images. Let's move this along to generate images. And let's just run this and see what happens. Does it return anything? Okay, so let's see how that responded. Yeah, brilliant. It has returned all of the chapters for that video. As you can see, we have the image prompt, Times Square at night with flashing billboards and crowded streets. So we can send that into the image generator. So we're going to use Flux One, as I mentioned. For this, we're going to use Replicate. I'll provide a link for this in the description below as well. I've used Replicate in other automations in the past. All of those are available in the community. So I've pretty much just copied and pasted this automation from a different blueprint. But within Replicate, if you just search for Flux, you'll see that they have various Flux models. And this one is Flux Pro. I think Go API also have a Flux. Yeah, they do, Flux API. So you could also use Go API. For this, I'll just use Replicate. As I mentioned, I just copied and pasted it from a previous example. So, okay, so let's add another module. We'll use HTTP, make a request. And then for the URL, we're going to pass in the Replicate URL. Within Replicate, you can press on API and it gives you the full kind of API documentation, which is how I built this out. So, okay, we're going to post to this method. We need to pass in authentication. So this is the API key that I use. Again, I'll be resetting this after I finish the video. So that's the authorization. And then body type is a raw JSON. So content type is JSON. And then the request content. So it is looking for a specific format, as all of these APIs do. You can kind of see an example of that format here. So number of steps, the prompt, aspect ratio, output format, etc. So we're going to drop all of that in there. And then the image prompt. So yeah, I'm saying 25 steps, output JPEG, aspect ratio 9:16, because this is going to be for a reel on social. And then for the prompt, we can then pick it up from node 17 here, which is the image prompt. Brilliant. Okay, so let's run this, but just to test this, let's only run it once. So if we come back into Airtable, just limit the results to 1, because we don't need to keep triggering image generations while we play around with this. So we can fix it up, after it's ready to go. So I've saved that, and then let's click run it. Excellent. So it has posted that to Replicate. So yeah, we're still getting back text. So let's now parse that into JSON. Is there a way to actually parse here? Yeah, parse response, yes. So we don't need to add another module. So run it again. Excellent. So data, brilliant. There we go. Input is that. There's the ID. So we're getting a URL to fetch the results. So we're going to save this to our Airtable, and then the same as what we did with the music generation, we'll have another status to fetch the images. Okay, so we need somewhere to save this. So let's come back in here, go to chapters, and then we're going to have a new field, replicate get URL. Kind of like a temporary field, but we just need somewhere to save this, and that can be a single line of text. Okay, so let's do that. And then come back into here, Airtable, update a record. So we're going to update the record we just fetched. So it's chapters. We can pass in the ID that we just got here, number 17, which is that one. And then replicate get URL, and we can fetch that there. Cool. So that's what we need to hit to fetch the response. And now the other thing is, let's update the videos so that now says generating images. So let's create a new status again, generating images. Okay, we need to update the video record as opposed to the chapter record. So here's our videos. The record ID is not this ID, it's the one from the first module, because that's the actual video that started this whole sequence. And we're going to set the status to generating images. Now, just something to be careful about here again is that we could be retrieving 6 records or 6 bundles. So we need to aggregate the array again, similar to what we did there. So we'll add a module, an array aggregator. let's do it properly this time, and we'll aggregate off a node 17 and just, yeah, total number of bundles, let's say. We don't need to add it off much, that one. Okay, and maybe let's limit this to 2 so we can see, does this actually work properly? Because I always end up doing lots of trial and error with array aggregators to get them to work. They are a little bit complicated. Okay, let's run it. Brilliant, yeah. So fetched multiple bundles, 2 bundles, ran 2 bundles there, and then consolidated it back to 1 bundle or 1 run. And we're still now at the 1 bundle. So excellent. And how are we doing? Yeah, generating images is our status. And then at the chapters, yeah, we have our get URLs. So excellent. We're flying it. Next up, we now need to fetch images. So another branch to this. This one will be fetch images. And the status is going to be generating images. Okay, so that's that one. Back here, make some space. So now again, we need to load up these rows. So let's just clone that. Okay, generating images. And what we're going to do is we're going to search for chapters. Let's be smart about this. So we're going to search for chapters where the video title is the one that we're working on at the moment. And there is a replicate URL set. Maybe that's the best way to do it. So that way then we're only going to actually work on chapters where there's an outstanding image. So there is the replicate get URL equals nothing. Let's see, does that work? Let's test this formula in Airtable first, because sometimes it can be a lot of trial and error with these formulas. So a really nice trick here, or a good tip when working with Airtable, is you just add a field and then look for formula, and then you can test out your formulas here. So I'll just copy this out. So and videos equals, we're just hard coded for the moment. So top cities with the best nightlife, and replicate get URL kind of is set is what we want here. So let's create that field. Brilliant, yeah. So that is now showing us true because that is set there and it's not set there. So that is what we want. So when an image loads in, then we'll load up the images and we might just unset these and it'll be back to 0. Yeah, that's good. So let's edit that field, get that out of there, drop it in there. Actually, I think that was exactly the same as what we had, but anyway, there's our video title. Now let's run it and see. No, there's an error. Unknown field names, replicate get URL. Maybe just remove the spaces, that might do it. Let's just fix this up here. These formulas can be a little bit finicky. I only realized recently that there's an issue with commas with lookups as well, so it doesn't always work perfectly. Let's try that one. Yeah, that has worked. Excellent, we're getting the 2 bundles back. So yeah, bit of trial and error, just removing the spaces worked there. Okay, so we now have these records. So we now need to fetch the result from replicate. And for that, we're just going to make another request. And this time we're going to use the URL that's saved here, the get URL. So hit that URL, which is that one. We don't need to send anything other than the headers. That's authorization. And then let's try it. So run once. Yeah, and that's ran twice now for each image. And yeah, again, we're getting lots of text back. I forgot to parse it. So parse the response, run it again, and there's our response. Cool. So it has succeeded. There's the URL. No, here's the output. Cool, very good. And let's check the second one, which is there, and it's the output. Cool, yeah, so they're great images for the video. Brilliant. Incredible to think that that's not actually a photograph of New York. It just looks so accurate. Okay, so let's save these now. So we're going to add another module, Airtable. We're going to update a record, which is the chapter, to save down these images. So the record ID is what we have set, what we fetched here in number 23. Then add an image. So the file URL is what we fetched in the request, which is output. That's to you. File name is, I just kind of set the ID dot. We are getting a JPEG back because I set that in the request. So there's that. Then how do we unset this replicate get URL? How about this? Let's set that to NA, or let's just set that to import complete. And then back here, we'll change this so that the replicate get URL contains HTTPS because it is a link. So we'll try this search function. So if you click on the Airtable website, there's a full list of all of the text operators. Yeah, so let's try that one. So we're looking for the string to find, where to search. So search, so the string to find, which is HTTPS. Where to search is that. I assume the last one is optional. Yeah, and let's just block this for 1 second just to make sure this is still working. Yeah, it's still working. Brilliant. Because that includes HTTPS. So that's not a bad first shot attempt at getting that working. So we can now unblock this. We're updating the record and we're just changing that to import complete. It no longer contains HTTPS. So that shouldn't run, it shouldn't catch it then the next time. Brilliant. So we'll save that and run it. And let's see, does it import? Import complete. And there's our images. And yeah, if we make these extra tall, you can see we now have images. Brilliant. We can remove this calculation field. It's more just to test formulas, but it's a really good tip. I don't know where I picked it up, but saved me a lot of time. Okay, so let's generate the rest of these images. So if we come back in here, so we would need to, oh, sorry, it still says generating images. We need to close it off. So back in here then, we're in multiple runs. So we need to aggregate the array based off number 23 here. And then we need to come in here and just update the record again. I'll just clone this because that's it. Most of it is the same. And we need to select images generated. And that's it. So if we run that now, hit an error. Oh yeah, so we don't have any records. There's nothing with HTTPS because we actually need to start resending them again. So we just need to put a filter in here so that it only continues processing if there's actually something to work on. So number 23. So if the total number of bundles is greater than 0. I probably need to add that into lots of parts of this automation. Okay, great. So that has finished. So images generated. Now let's generate the rest. So generate images, and here we're going to set the limit. Let's set it to 10, for example, and we'll set the limit to 10 as well here. So we'll run this. Great. So look at that. It's added replicate URLs. Now it has also added it to there, which is incorrect because it's already generated. So yeah, so we'll just update this. So it should be where the video is that title, and then also where the replicate get URL is just not set as opposed to image imported. So we'll do that and then so that should work. That's now set to generated images. I'm just going to remove this because I don't want to overwrite these images. They're pretty good. Image imported, I think is what I said, wasn't it? Now, so if I run this, it should try to fetch the image. So let's see how that works. Cool. Yeah, import completed. Oh, that was what I was supposed to say. Excellent. That was mega fast. That looks brilliant. These are fantastic images. Not much of a nightlife there. I could probably regenerate that one. That's pretty good. And that's pretty good. Let's try to regenerate this one. So if I just delete that, move this back to generate images and run it. And yeah, it's only picked up the one now, which is great. And it's added the ID. And then if I run it again, oh yeah, I think I need to put a filter in for the status. So I've hit the URL here, data. See, status is processing. So status needs to be complete. So we need to add in a filter, set up a filter, and the condition is status not equal to processing, or it should be like status equals complete, something like that. Now let's try that again. So back to generate images, we'll run it. Now it's generating images, loaded the URL. And now if I run very quickly, what was this? Status is processing. Yeah, I need to add a filter in here now as well because it's actually, the filter is correctly working here. So it is stopping the processing here. So it's not updating the record, which is what we want. It still keeps that URL, but then it gets out of this loop and it continues processing here. So we need to add in a filter just to put some logic around the size of this array. So the image length is greater than 0. So that should stop it updating that because we want to keep it at fetch images. Or images generating because we want to keep checking for updated images. So let's put this now back to generating images, run it again. Brilliant. It actually has completed now, and that's images generated, and we have an image. So let's have a look. Yeah, still not an amazing nightlife. It's actually the image prompt is the problem here. A vibrant Bangkok street with night markets and lively bars and thousands of people is what we should say. So let's get rid of that, delete that, and let's try this one more time. So we'll run it. That worked well. Run it again. And yeah, it has stopped. It's still processing, which is what we want. You can see there, and it hasn't updated it. So we're still at generated images. So now we can click it again. Still hasn't processed. Click it again, and now it has. Images generated. There's our image. Slightly more people, but not really. Thousands of people in. Sometimes with image prompts, if you put words at the start, the image generator takes it a bit more literally, with lively bars. Very last time we're going to try it. This is the nature of working with AI images and videos as well. You're not going to get it right first time. So you will need the facility to keep retrying to get the best output. So that's what we're doing here. I'm just not happy with this image. I don't want a video to be generated if it's a bad image. So that's why it is worth having this kind of retry facility, where you can iterate on it. There we go. Thousands of people. That's more like it. Cool. So I'm now happy with the images. Let's move on. So I have generated the chapters, generated the music, generated the images. Now we need to liven up the scene. We need to do some image to video generation. So we're going to use Kling, which is the Chinese image to video generator. So if I come here, Kling AI, and what I've done is I've set up an account on Kling AI, and I have synced that account with Go API. Again, Kling don't have an API. A lot of image generators don't have APIs. I think like Leonardo is possibly one of the only official ones, and SDXL, which is just dreadful as well. So really you do need to use unofficial APIs to get any level of programmatic access to image to video generation. So Go API does have a Kling API facility, and so that's what I've set up here. I've signed up for a Kling AI account, and then I have bound it to Go API. So what you do by pressing that button and following the instructions. So I have all of that set up. I'll provide links again in the description for all of that. So let's now come in here, and we're going to add a new branch, which is generate video. So we'll click that, generate videos. And the status now should be generate videos. And let's come back in here to videos. And now we need, again, more statuses. Add option, generate videos. We're most likely going to need a fetch facility. So generating videos and videos generated. Okay, so generate videos. So we're going to set now the status to that because we want to go off and generate these videos, which is that. That's good. Okay, so we can copy a lot of the stuff out that we've used already. So this is now the same as kind of generate images. We need to get the images from each chapter and then send it to the Kling AI API or the Go API to generate the video. So if I come to this stream, which is generate images, let's just copy this module. And what that should do then, let's open it up and have a look at it. So we're looking for chapters where the video title is the video we're talking about and where an image has been set. I think that's probably the best way to do it. So we'll get rid of that and just type in images. Is it images or image? Image. So that should return. Let's have a look at it. So it should return 10. If I run it, yeah, we're getting 6 bundles. Brilliant, because they all have images. Okay. So next up, we need to hit the Go API to trigger the Kling AI generation. So come in here, HTTP. Make a request. So we're going to post to the API. If I go to the Go API docs, we're looking for Kling API, and that's what we need to post to. So copy that out and drop it in there. And then we need to add headers. So again, they're looking for this X API key to authenticate. Now we do need to pass in a body. So it's a raw JSON body, and you can see what's kind of required in this body, and you can play around with a lot of these parameters to get what you want. What I'm trying to do here is inject an image URL as the initial frame of the video, and I want that to be animated. So that's going to be a kind of a crucial aspect to this. And you can see an example request, which is there. So yeah, I'll paste in my prompt. Okay, so that's the image URL that I need to fetch here. So that is that one. The prompt, I'm not going to pass in a prompt. I'm just going to get the model to figure out how to animate it based off what's in the image. So let's see what it comes back with. Aspect ratio 9:16, because again, this is for social. And professional mode true. There's 2 modes on Kling AI. Unprofessional mode, which is kind of low quality, and professional mode true, which is high quality. So it takes a bit longer to output. So we'll leave it at that. And then parse response, let's set that to yes. Okay, let's try this. Again, let's limit it to 1. Let's not waste credits while we're testing this. So save that and run it. Okay, and then we get a response, which is a task ID. So we're back to this scenario again where we have task IDs. So let's come into our chapters, and we're going to save this task ID somewhere. So this is Go API task ID. Let's just not have spaces this time for the sake of our sanity. Now let's save that to the Airtable. So update a record. We're going to use module 28 here. Oops. And then we'll set the table. So it's module 28 is we're loading chapters here. So we're looking for chapter. Record ID is you. And then Go API task ID is you. Okay, so that should do it. So we'll save that. Let's run it again. Brilliant. We now have a task ID, and we need somewhere to store this video. So let's create a new field. So video clip. That's an attachment. And then similar to what we're doing with the generate images, we need to update the main video now to say kind of currently generating videos. So let's copy that out. And again, we're into an array aggregator situation here because we can have multiple records. So let's aggregate the array first. So let's do that. We're going to aggregate from number 28. Again, might just do it on some like IDs, for example. And then back to this, and that module. Oops, jump in there, generated videos, and that's it. Okay, so I've run that now. And yeah, that's now set to generating videos. So now we can do a fetch of the video. We have our Go API task ID. So now we're going to create another branch. This is a monster automation at this point, but the end result is going to be spectacular. And again, we're going to clone that because we're going to fetch the chapters. So what are we doing actually on this one? This is fetch video clips, and if the status is generating videos. Okay, so if videos equals that, and then also let's use the exact same formula that we had here. So we're going to search for, let's search for a dash, because that's probably consistent across the IDs. Everything else is going to be very kind of random. So yeah, let's search for a dash in this. And if there is a dash in it, and then we're going to set it to import complete, or it'll be nothing. So that should work. So yeah, we're searching for a dash in the Go API task ID, and that's the video title. So that should do it. Press OK to that, and save and run it. That did not work. Let's see why that did not work. I'm probably missing something. Oh yeah, I'm missing a closing bracket. So it was something easy. Yeah, cool. That worked now. And that is excellent. Yeah, the only record then that has a Go API task ID. Well, I'm limited to 1, but actually change that to 10. See, does it work? Yeah, still 1. Brilliant. So now that we have the task ID, let's come in here. Going to make another request, which is probably a get request, no doubt, with this get video generation result. Yeah, it's a get to this. So copy that out, hit that URL, but we're going to append the Go API task ID. We also need to copy in our XAPI key, and I believe that's it. Parse response, yes, I did correctly. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so let's save it and run it again. And how is it doing? So we have data. It is successful. We're getting an error message, which is generate video, upload image, request upload token failed. Status 415, unsupported media type HTTP. Yeah, I think the issue is they might be struggling to download the image from Airtable. So I've encountered this issue before. Yeah, so what we might do is we might just try to pass it the replicate URL as opposed to the Airtable URL and see does that do it. So yeah, if we come back into chapters, let's create a new field called replicate temp URL, and we're only going to use this just to pass to Kling. And yeah, actually we're going to need to delete out all of these images now. So let's go through this process again, but we're going to save to this replicate temp URL when we generate images. So generate images, we're searching for the records. It's when we're fetching them, isn't it? Yeah, fetch images, make the request, update the record, and then the replicate temp URL. So that's this one. So we're going to save that there. Okay, so then let's reload these now that we're going to save that URL, generate images. So it's now, yeah, this is the get URL to get the image. Now it's set it to generating images. Off you go. Yep, it's now populating the images again, and it's dropping in this temporary URL. So excellent. And we have the other URL. So now let's pass this URL to Kling and see will it accept it. So we'll make the request. And this time, instead of passing the Airtable image URL, we'll pass this temporary one, which hasn't loaded there. So we do need to reload this, I think. Is that done? Nope. Do our 1 = 0 trick just to get it to reflect the latest state of play with the data set. That needs now to be set to generate videos. Great. So that should have loaded now. Image URL, yeah, replicate temp URL. So let's drop that in there. I think that temp URL lasts for 60 minutes. So this solution would only work if you were kind of triggering this pretty fast. Now we'll run it now to generate the videos. Yeah, so it has successfully sent it in. It's moved the status to generating videos. We have our Go API task ID. Now let's run it again, and it should try to fetch the result, which it did. And let's see, fingers crossed. Yeah, status processing, excellent. So it's taken the image now and it's generating the video. Great, let's send in the rest. So we've only sent in a single image. Let's send in all the images. I believe it should queue it on the Go API side. I think on Kling AI, you can only upload a couple at a time, but I believe it queues it. You can even see there generating video on the right hand side. So yeah, let's try this. So we will change this back to a limit of 10. Let's try to send them all in. So let's save that. Okay, let's run it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, why did you do a 6th one? Yeah, we need to update that formula now to say where the Go API task ID, we only want to send chapters in that aren't already processing. So where that's nothing. Okay, so that should fix that one. And they've all been sent in now. So we have our task IDs, generating videos. So let's run it now and see how they're looking. So I'm still limiting this to 1 just to see what's going on. This is probably still processing. It is indeed. If I come to Kling, yeah, I can see that there's a second video processing now, which is the replica of the first one. So if I change that to limit 10, let's see how they're all doing. So there's 6 chapters. That one's failed. So we need to, I've tested this before. There is a need to retry some of these. That's failed as well. Sometimes it queues on Go API and sometimes it just flat out fails. Yeah, so a lot of those have failed. So I think in instances where it has failed, we need to just reset the status to generate it again. Might be a way of properly queuing on Go API. I don't know, you need to kind of put some sort of a buffer in terms of how many you send through at a time or batch it or something like that. But let's just do this one very quickly. Okay, so we'll update the record. Yeah, so I think what we'll do in the scenario where it's failed, so we'll set up a filter here, right, which is where the status is failed, which is what we saw in a couple of examples there. We're going to set, well, actually, let's do a router. So add a router. Rid of that. So set up a filter, and yeah, where the status has failed. So in that scenario, what we want to do is just replace Go API task ID with import failed. Try again. Whereas if it has succeeded, so in this case, the status we're looking for is completed. If that's the case, then what we want to do is save the video that we get. So we're going to be saving a video clip. That's the one. And we're going to be saving it based off what we get here. Yeah, so it's this one, DataWorks resource without watermark. And then the file name can just be the work ID dot MP4. Excellent. So let's run this again. Now it's run through it 6 times. Yeah, a lot of them failed. One has completed actually. So let's have a look. And there's our video clip. Oops, I forgot to update that. Import successful. Yeah, let's have a look at it. Excellent. Yeah, so it's kind of figured out based off. It's got a strange movement on the car up front, but you might not even notice that in a very fast moving reel, a slight crash. But yeah, there's a little bit of a walking movement forward in the camera. Great, so that worked pretty well. So like, let's send in these other ones now. So import failed, try again. And maybe what we'll do is we'll add a bit of a sleep in here. So just add a module. Let's give it 4 seconds while sending in the HTTP requests. And then for here, we probably need to update this now. So it's the Go API task ID is equal to that. So it's going to be or equal to this, which we just set. So that should do it, I think. Let's get back out of here, generating videos. Oh yeah, we need to change that into videos generated. So for this, let's just add in a router. So there's an additional router now. So firstly, it's going to go through this path and try to, import all of the images. And then at the very end, what we're going to do is let's search just to see, are there any outstanding images that still need to be imported? And if there are, then we'll just leave the status as still generating images. So let's clone that, drop it in there. So we're now searching for records. Yeah, where there's still a task ID with a dash in it. And then if that equals 0, then we're going to update the main record. And we'll be setting it to videos generated. That's from here. Status is videos generated. The filter then is if the total number of bundles from this search equals 0. That means everything is generated. So let's run that. We have an error there. Oh no, there's a dash in the import failed. Try again. Okay, that's funny. Get rid of the dash. Have it in brackets. Import failed. Try again. Now let's try that one again. Why did you break again? What's going on? Total number of bundles. I still need to set these filters is greater than 0. Okay. Go again. Now, brilliant. So it's not going down this path. There's no task IDs left to check. And now it's coming in here and it is setting it as videos generated. So yeah, what it's done is it's generated the videos where there's task IDs, but obviously there's issues here. So let's push this now back to generate videos and we'll run it again and we'll try to push in these task IDs now. I should update them here. What's the issue? Missing value of ID, parameter ID. We're loading up the chapters. Record ID. So that's worked. Go API task ID has been added. And another one. So yeah, this is working again. Now, we won't know until we fetch them whether these have stuck in the Go API system or whether Kling has spat them out. But yeah, you can see it's starting to generate more videos here, which is great. Yeah, I think the sleep has worked. It seems to be kind of queuing them a bit better. Okay, so that has finished. That has moved it now to generating videos. Let's run it straight away and let's see what kind of shape they're in. 2 have failed, which means the rest have succeeded, and it hasn't updated that. So yeah, so import failed, try again. So we'll try it on those 2. So probably something for Go API to look at, maybe to get in touch with them just to see why it's not queuing them and why it's just flat out failing them. Maybe we need to queue them on our side. So maybe we need to set a maximum of 2 or 3 that we send into their system at any one time. So that's a possible workaround, but I won't spend any more time on that side of it. Smaller clips have generated from Kling. So let's just have a quick look through them. So this is the first. Yeah, nice slow walk down a busy street. This is the second. Not bad. Yeah, a little bit of distortion on that person dancing, but generally not too bad if you're having just a quick glance at it. The third we already looked at where the car is almost crashing against someone else. The fourth is bizarre. Everyone is kind of walking backwards into themselves. So that one definitely needs to be regenerated. I won't regenerate it and waste more time here, but that one was bizarre. Fifth one, yeah, not bad. Yeah, no major distortions in that. And the sixth one, the image is very good from Flux. That looks good. Is she in her underpants? Yeah, that's wacky. My God, yeah. So anyway, yeah, definitely a couple that probably do need to be regenerated, but we'll continue on with the automation. So the last stage to this, if we have a quick look at where we're at, we have our video with all of the chapters generated with text and images, and now with video clips. We have an audio backing track, so what we're lacking is just to tie it all together into a video system. So there are various different platforms that you can use for this. There's JSON to video, which is quite popular. Let me just show you the front screen of that. So it's a little bit more developer-y. And there is also Creatomate, which is what we're going to use today. I've had great success actually with this platform in generating some really impressive image and video templates. And the other one is ShotStack, which again, I've had to play around with. The interactive editor isn't really as powerful as Creatomate, but again, other than that, it does seem to be a pretty solid platform. So yeah, for today, we're going to use Creatomate. So to get started with this, I'll leave a link in the description as well for it. You can see pricing too. They do have a free plan, I believe. Get started for free. But yeah, you're going to hit the need for a subscription fairly early. That's kind of the case with a lot of these ShotStack's subscriptions. There is a pay as you go, but there is a one-time fee of $75, and then JSON to video is probably cheaper at the lower end, but it doesn't have anywhere near as good of an interactive editor. It does have pre-paid plans as well. So yeah, you could have a play around with all three. Definitely Creatomate was the one that was kind of the most impressive for me. So to get started, you need to just create a video template. And what we're going to do is set up placeholders within that template and then auto-generate the video by injecting the data from Airtable into those placeholders. So this is the template that I've created, which has the video in the background, the primary text, and then the secondary text. It's playing the audio clip, which is the music that you see here. There's some nice transitions with the text kind of swiping in from the left, and then it finishes off like that. So it's, yeah, as I mentioned, really powerful editor. You can really do so much here in terms of like the animations, entry, exit animations, transition animations, different scene animations. There's just so much you can play around with. So that's the template that I'm going to be using. And you can see, how it looks. Let's now build the automation to inject all of our own kind of data and video into this and see how it looks. Okay, so for that, we're going to press the plus icon to the router. We're going to create yet another path. Let's bring it down here. So that's fetch video clips. So now this is render full video. And then the status for this, which is there, will be render full video. So let's come in here into videos. Then on status, edit the field. We're going to add a new one, which is render full video. And then a closing status, which is, well, actually, it's probably completed. Actually, we don't need full video rendered. We have complete, which is there. Okay, so let's move this now into the render full video state. And we need that then to trigger this flow in Make, which you can see here. So what we need to do now is we need to gather all of the assets. So we have the video information from this module. We now need to get all the chapter information. So again, we'll come back in here, Airtable. I'll just copy out one of the other ones. So that's most likely get in chapters and drop that in there. Interesting, it actually copies in the filter from the previous one. I didn't realize that. Okay, render full video, delete that. Okay, so this is getting our chapters from the AI video automation system. Now, where the video title is that, and that's all we need. We don't need any of that. And no need for an and either. And it should give us everything we need. We also want the ordering of the grid. So that way, if we select grid ordering there, then if you this is obviously a numbered list, but if you wanted New York to be last, you could drag it last. So by setting the view to be the grid view, whatever the order is here will be reflected in the output of the search here. So we'll do that. Okay, so let's save it and run it and just make sure we're getting everything, which we are, and 6 bundles. Excellent. So now we can aggregate that array again because we don't need to generate 6 videos. So we'll just instantly aggregate what we're getting because we'll have access to it now in the array. So yeah, just aggregate on ID, for example. So next up, we're going to go to Creatomate. So there is a native module in Make for Creatomate, which is brilliant. So it's render a template. Now, what you can do is, let me jump in here. So what you see there in terms of the URL, that ID after templates, that is the template ID. So you can drop that in there, or you can just pick a template ID. I obviously have a lot that I'm playing with at the moment. So, but yeah, you can just drop that template ID in there, refresh it, and it should load up the various dynamic fields. I'm not going to go through the full process of how to create dynamic fields in Create-O-Mate. There's lots of kind of videos online about how to generate and create templates, but effectively, you know, like if you have text here, it needs to have a unique name and it needs to have dynamic set on the right hand side, and that's then what makes it appear in this section here. But yeah, there's plenty of tutorials online about that. If you want me to dive deeper into Create-O-Mate and maybe show you how to generate templates, then yeah, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so let's delete out all of the placeholders. I'll just zoom out a bit here. There's a lot of fields. So this is all of the placeholder text that you just saw a minute ago in the Create-O-Mate console. And then what we need to do is we're going to drop in the various assets from the video and the chapters. Now I'm not seeing everything from node 42 there. Let me just try to load it by doing that and see. If not, we can just aggregate it in the array anyway. So let me just get out of that, save, run it, and now let's see, has it loaded up? No, it hasn't. Okay, let's just aggregate it. So 42. Okay. That'll do. Get out of that. Run it again. That should now load up. Yeah, it has. Okay, so for media one, we're looking for the first video clip. So you can see videos and no, not videos. I do that every time. Video clip, in fact, which is there. That's the URL. Now we need to just drop in. It's the first item in this array. So this is our output, and the first one, it's this video clip. So you can drop that there, and then we're looking for 2, and then 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. And then same for titles. So the title, let me just go back to my template. For example, pet sitting or dog walking, that's the primary text. So we have title, primary text, and again, so we're just populating out all of these placeholders with the correct variables. And then finally music. So we can get that from the first node. So background audio, you just pass a URL and it's going to download that URL and embed it, as well as download all the images and videos and stuff. So that's it. Show advanced settings. I don't think there's anything we need to change here. Render scale just can be useful for testing. Actually, I might change that to maybe 50%. You don't want to burn too many credits when you're testing this stuff out. So yeah, we'll render it out at 50%. Great. So then where are we going to save this video? Let's go to videos. We need a new field, rendered video. That can be an attachment. And that is, let's throw that here. And then add another module. We're going to go back to Airtable, update a record. We're going to set the status to complete. And then we're going to upload the rendered video to Airtable. Yeah, so then status would be, is it complete or completed? Let's change it to completed. Okay, and then rendered video, that's the file URL. And then you can see in this module, I believe it's URL. And file name will have it as render ID dot output format maybe. Looks good. I don't think we need to set anything else, so leave it at that. So this is synchronous, so this will keep loading and waiting for the response. So let's run it once and see how it goes. Now, a filter broke here. Oh yeah, sure. I put this in place to stop it, so okay. Go again. We got all of our chapters, and now you can see the templates generating. So that's completed, and you can see that this is the URL, and that's been saved to the video. So completed is the status. Here's our rendered video, and let's see how it looks. Okay, best nightlife cities. Great, get ready to party. There's Berlin, New York City with the car crashing, Bangkok with all the people melding into each other, which definitely should be replaced. That looks great for Rio. And then, yeah, Ibiza, Spain, the ultimate party island. That's great. So that rendered out very well. You could, of course, if you wanted changes, you could just change the template and then you're dynamically injecting the new content into that template. So you could have different transitions or different durations of clips. What we're getting back from Kling are 5-second long clips. It can be extended to 10 seconds as well. But like the sky's the limit here. Like this is generating a social media, like 9:16. You could generate a 16:9. 4K for YouTube if you wanted. You'd probably burn through a lot of credits on Create-O-Mate for that. But yeah, this can do YouTube, this can do Instagram, this can do TikTok, and you can really just generate quite a lot with this kind of dynamic content. Definitely the slowest part of this process is the image to video generation. That Kling AI or the Go API for Kling is definitely the slowest part to it. So If you were just generating reels off static images, it would only take a matter of minutes just generating Flux images. Whereas with that Kling AI, it's 10, 15 minutes per video, and there's still a bit of ironing out to do in terms of the queuing mechanism there as well. The other thing is, as you saw, it isn't a single shot and away you go. You do need a facility to regenerate images, which you have here, and you have a facility to regenerate video clips as well. So that's the benefit, I suppose, of this approach of having various different statuses and then having fetching states as well that you can then re-trigger different phases. It's worth noting as well that you could add in captions. So Creatomate supports automatic transcripts using 11 Labs. So you could drop in an AI-generated voice as well based off a video script, possibly written by GPT-4o. Something to consider here is what is the trigger to this automation. So for example, we're just searching records on an Airtable here, but this could be automatically triggered from crawling a website, for example. It could be automatically triggered by adding a row to a Google Sheet. So there's plenty of options on the trigger for the video generation. When you have fully set up this automation, I would suggest that when you are in the process of generating videos on Airtable, come into Make and just turn on your schedule and get it to run every 2 minutes. That way, as you update the statuses, it'll automatically trigger. The alternative is you just stay in Make and you just click run once every time you need it to run an automation. And just a slight warning on that, don't leave that schedule to run every 2 minutes forever, because you'll burn through the number of operations on your Make plan pretty quickly. If you want access to this blueprint so that you can quickly just import it at the click of a button, as opposed to building all of that out from scratch, check out the link in the description below to our community, where you'll get access to this blueprint and instructions on how to use it, as well as lots of other automation templates that we have as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.